Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Blue Bounty Hunter channel. Now, like many of the other background Jedi in Star Wars, have you ever wondered what the story behind this odd, long-necked Jedi is? Well, this guy's name is Yarael Poof, and in this video, I'll be talking about his life story, as well as the unique powers that made him a powerful Jedi on the Council. So in this video, I'll actually be talking about things from canon as well as legends. And I'm actually going to start off with the unique powers and abilities that Yarael Poof had. And Yarael was 8 feet and 8 inches, or 2.64 meters for non-Americans. He was a male Quermian that, like his fellow Quermians, had 4 arms and 2 brains, one of which was in his chest, while the other in his head, like most sentient species. He had red eyes and white, pale skin, and was known to enjoy using Force mind tricks on his fellow Jedi for fun. So he did kind of have a mischievous side, as you can see. He was also a great thinker and often provided insight in the Jedi's balance between peace and justice, which he would discuss multiple times with the Council. He wore the brown robes of a Jedi that covered his extra arms, and also possessed a blue lightsaber, which he was especially skilled with due to his anatomy, which lacked a spine. It is noted that he originally had a yellow crystal for his weapon, but later changed it to the blue instead for unknown reasons, and he practiced each lightsaber form as most senior members of the Council did too, but was a master of Form 2, 4, and 6, though it is not stated which form he preferred. He was extremely powerful with Force mind tricks, and was able to play with his enemies' minds using their fears to scare them. Also, the Quermian could create a visual clone or doppelganger of himself to confuse his enemies. He could even make himself invisible, which would not only confuse enemies, but also his Jedi brethren. Yarael Poof also used battle meditation and was able to start fires at his will by combusting the molecules in the air. All of these Force abilities combined with his intricate, spineless anatomy combined to make a dangerous opponent worthy of a fight. And even though Poof used Force mind tricks routinely, he actually encouraged younger members of the Order against it, as unless they were very experienced, it could be dangerous to the minds of their victims. So honestly, I don't think I would trust this guy if I was a Jedi. I mean, not only did he constantly use Force mind tricks, but he also looks like something out of a nightmare. I mean, this kid looks like Palpatine if he kept letting Mace block Force lightning at him. But anyway, now that I've gone over his Force abilities and other skills, I'm actually going to go over his life story and all of the different notable events that happened throughout his life. And while I couldn't find when he was born, we can assume it was sometime from like 300 BBY to 250 BBY, because by the Phantom Menace, he was actually supposed to be over 200 years old, which took place in 32 BBY, that being episode 1. And however, Poof was born on the planet of Quermia and was on the Jedi Council by 232 BBY. Supreme Chancellor Lina So summoned Yarael and many other Jedi to the Monument Plaza on Coruscant, where they discussed the aftermath of the Great Hyperspace Disaster. Yarael Poof told the Chancellor that the Council did not believe that a Force user was responsible for the event, as there was no evidence to support that. The Jedi Avar Kriss was then assigned to respond to the events that followed the Great Hyperspace Disaster, known as the Emergencies. Yarael agreed with the Council in a meeting to decide how they should deal with the Nihil, a group that had caused the disaster. And after the Chancellor thought war was imminent, the Jedi helped to bring down the Nihil at the Battle of Kerr. After the battle, Poof accompanied the Chancellor to the Starlight Beacon, which was a space station that helped with navigation in the dark zones of the Outer Rim. And almost a year later, when Nihil returned to attack the Republic on the planet of Valo, and Yarael Poof voiced his thoughts that they shouldn't jump to conclusions until the journalist Real Dario sent out a distress signal. But with all of that said, in 230 BBY, Poof attended a meeting with the Chancellor Linus O, where they discussed the destruction of the Starlight Beacon and hoped to save more Jedi from the creatures of the Nihil, known as the Nameless. Yarael served on the council to brief Ino Cordova and Sarah Jundi, which are actually from the game Jedi Fallen Order, so that is pretty cool that Yarael kind of ties into that game's story as well. But basically, the council was talking to them about a temple on Ontotho that the Jedi hoped to explore. He was also present for when Qui-Gon Jinn brought Anakin Skywalker before the council during the invasion of Naboo, where the Jedi revealed the return of the Sith and the possible arrival of the Chosen One, that being Anakin. So as you can see, he was just kind of there for all the council meetings and stuff during his kind of canon lifetime, and in canon, he actually is said to die in some kind of mysterious mission right before the outbreak of the Clone Wars. But I'm actually about to go into his death in Legends, as I find it to be much more interesting than his, pretty vague and mysterious death in canon. But in Legends, in 27 BBY, Ashar Korda, a radical Anu Dot general, was going to strike one of the Republic's key worlds, either Alderaan, Corellia, or Coruscant, wielding the Infant of Shah, which was an ancient artifact from the planet Saylat. And Jedi Masters Eth Koth, Oppo Rancisis, and Yarael Poof agreed to each guard a planet, with Yarael taking Coruscant as he argued his skills at pinpointing the disturbance in the Force due to his experience would make him the best choice for the main capital. And Yarael descended into the lower levels of Coruscant and managed to make time to help a boy being assaulted by a gang of hoodlums. And using his skill to create apparitions, the Jedi made a Rancor seem to appear, which scared off the attackers. Even at the end of his life, the old Jedi still had a sense of compassion. Poof made it to the central power generator of Coruscant, where he discovered Korda holding the carved object where he sensed the disturbance in the Force coming from. He demanded the general surrender as he sensed how close the artifact was to destruction. And when the two bounty hunters, Zam Wessel and Jango Fett, entered the building demanding for the artifact as well, Yarael had no choice but to form an uneasy alliance with them, and together the group fought against the rogue general and his followers. They defeated the terrorists, but as Yarael studied the object, Korda leaped forward and plunged a vibroblade through the Quermian's heart. The bounty hunters killed the general, but Poof was mortally wounded and collapsed on the ground below. And using the last of his strength, the Jedi absorbed the artifact's power into him, which saved Coruscant but brought an end to a long-lived heroic Jedi. With his act of selflessness, the Master saved billions on Coruscant, and a funeral was held at the temple's pyre room where his fellow Jedi mourned the loss. The device of destruction was returned to its rightful place on Salat. He was replaced on the council by the Verk Master known as Coleman Trebor, which was an interesting choice to say the least. I'm looking at you, Geonosis Arena. But now that I've gone over all that stuff, including his death in Legends, which I found to be quite interesting, we're now going to go over some fun facts to end off the video. And Yarael Poof would have actually been in Attack of the Clones, except George thought animating him during the arena scene would be too costly, and he also didn't want Poof to be confused with the Kaminoans from earlier in the film. Both of these problems led to Yarael Poof being cut cut out of the movie. So it would have been kind of cool to see him in this movie, but obviously they had their reasons, and I'm also kind of glad that we got to see some new Jedi Masters instead of the same ones as in The Phantom Menace. And speaking of The Phantom Menace, since no new footage was shot for the Jedi Council in the movie, the visual effects team had to paint out and replace Poof with Coleman Trebor by using outtakes from episode 1 of The Council. And I think that's kind of crazy that they just didn't shoot any new footage of the Council. I mean, obviously they had like the blue screen shots of like Anakin and Obi-Wan and probably Mace Windu as well, but that's surprising that like everything you see in the movie of the Council, which admittedly is just like one scene, but it's just stuff from the previous film. So that's another fact for you. But anyway, that's it for this video. You can subscribe if you want to. I upload every Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I also upload shorts on Saturdays. But yeah, see ya.